right, it looks like some folks have rolled in. I guess let's go ahead and get this thing started. Tara, do you mind pulling up the slideshow, please? But in the meantime, I can introduce myself and share a little bit about our program and what we've been up to for the past few weeks. Hello, my name is Shida. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at Youth in Focus. And I have had the honor of supporting our amazing teaching artist, Chloe, and all of our fabulous students for the past 6 weeks, as we have just dived in and learned about the camera. And I'll let Chloe share a little bit more about what we've been learning for the past few weeks, but just as a little overview of what the Creative Career Cohort is that it is a 6-month BIPOC internship that gives students the opportunity to really dive deep into camera functions, learning about different perspectives and like learning about what their, I guess, how do you say it? Yeah, their identity and how they want to perceive, like communicate that with folks in the community and how they want to tell their story through photographs. A huge part of this is like storytelling through photography, and you're going to be able to see a lot of that. And it's really exciting to see, when given a prompt, what all of these students have been able to come up with. As I said, it's a 6-month-long program. The students get paid $1,400 to participate. And this is the why is that there's not enough photographers of color in our community, and largely. So we want to create opportunities to really amplify BIPOC youth voices and get more BIPOC photographers out into our community. And I am very excited to share one of our very own local BIPOC photographers, Chloe, here in a second, but I did want to say some thank yous to our community and our sponsors. If you don't mind going to the next slide, Tara. Awesome, thank you. The sponsor for the 2023 Creative Career Cohort is the Office of Arts and Culture, so thank you so much to them for making this happen. In addition to them, our 2023 program sponsors are P. Wayne and Jane B. Good Foundation, Medina Foundation, Consigliere Arts Fund, and For Culture. With the support of all of these sponsors, our families, our community members, our students, we're able to make such an amazing program like this happen. So thank you to them. Thank you to you. Thank you to our students. We appreciate y'all being here, and I will pass this over to Chloe so you can hear a little more about the program.
Hello. Okay, hello. I'm going to make this quick because I much rather look at the work than hear my own voice, but my name's Chloe Collyer. My pronouns are also they, them, and I am the adult leader of this beautiful group of photographers, and I'm also an alumni of Youth in Focus, so this organization allowed me to become the artist I am today, and I'm a working photographer here in Seattle. And without further ado, I want to tell you about what we're about to look at. The creative cohort students have put together for you a reflection on the first part of 3 parts of this series. So this was a section of the course that focused on the fundamentals of using a camera, but also the students are going to show you, like Shida said, a piece of their cultural identity through a couple of photos that are connected by a theme. So as you're looking at this work, you can ask yourself, what similarities or themes do I see? And without further ado, we're going to have David come in, who's our first photographer. Each photographer has 5 minutes max, and part of that after they speak will be a time to there's David. Part of that time will include open questions. So in the chat, please add, this goes for everyone attending, please put a question or a comment or a piece of feedback in the chat, and that will be shared with the artist at the end. So it's 6:10 on the dot. Without further ado, we're going to pass it over to our first artist, who's going to introduce themselves. And Tara, you can pop the slideshow up. We have roaring applause for the first artist. Tara's going to lead the slideshow, and David's going to introduce himself. Thank you.
It's a good time to unmute myself now. Okay, I assume so. I'll just be waiting for my slides to come up. There we go. All right. Yeah, hello. My name is David Reyes. I play bass and guitar, and as you can see, I partake in photography. I'm an older brother of 3 siblings. I would say I've always been an artistic person, whether that be, photography, music, or drawing. I've always used it as a way to cope and express myself emotionally, and it's always been the easiest way of just sharing who I am. And today, I dedicate this statement to my mouse, Mikey, who passed away March 7th. He was one of my best friends, lived up to almost a year. I got him when I was 17, and he was my baby goblin boy. Me and his brother Ralph will remember him dearly. And the 2 photos up here were taken the day of his passing. Next slide. This photo is combined with the next photo in the next slide. If you could turn to that, please. Yes, these both were turned in for basically the Youth in Focus assignment for explaining our heritage in our own way. And the only way I was able to really connect that was the sombrero in both of the photos, which was from Oaxaca, Tepejillo, which is from where my family is from, one of my favorite places. Favorite hat, by the way. But yes, this photo right here, this one that's up, not the one that we just passed, was the main one for that heritage photo. This is just supposed to represent my heritage, my love for it, and how happy I am for it. Can we go back to the other one, please, so I could explain that one? Yeah, this one is just supposed to be me. I just took this one just to make a weird photo aligned with the heritage assignment, because I feel like this speaks about my personality pretty well. That is me down there, by the way. Okay. Oh, I love these ones. These 2 photos here are, the theme is color. It is, I really like messing with color and all of my photos, really. I really like just enhancing an emotion or just a certain vibe that can be felt in a photo with the use of color. And so those 2 photos here are just an example of that. And I think you guys also saw that in the last photo of me. Can we go to the next one, please? Yes, as you can see, my editing style, I feel like it's quite not unique to me, but specific to me. This photo here is supposed to represent my friend. He's a ghost. I hate him and love him. He's my ghost friend who can just disappear for months to weeks without saying a thing to me. But every time we click back again, it's just great. But I felt like this photo captured him really well out of the whole day. I was just taking photos of him. This certain day, I went over to his house to just jam. Ooh, here's my favorite brother. I love him dearly. He is my favorite sibling. And I was just playing with him this day, just on the floor with his toys. And I think this photo is just really pure, because something that I've noticed that he does with people he meets that he really likes, he'll just start showing them his collection of toys. And so he started doing that with me. He already has shown me this toy before I took this photo. He just forgets, I think, or he just really likes to show off his toys with people he likes. And so I took this photo because I thought it was just a really precious moment, and I love him. And here is my self-portrait slash homage to Slow Dive and Sonic Youth. I would consider music being a huge part about my life. And so when they told us we had to take a self-portrait, immediately I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a homage to Slow Dive and Sonic Youth, because mostly love Sonic Youth. I just love music, play bass, guitar, and yeah, this represents my love for guitar, and I'm just a cool guy, I think. I think that's all of them. Yes. How do I continue this?
Yay, claps and snaps for the artist. We're gonna open up the chat here and take a look at your feedback. Congrats to the students. Great color enhancements, David. Definitely feeling the vibes in the chat. Any questions for the artist? People are celebrating your use of lighting, color, and creativity. And the Sonic Youth photo. I have a question. Now that you've done Sonic Youth, is there another band or type of music that could inspire a photo?
I was thinking of some metal bands. I really want to go for something Slipknot inspired next photo because I have a deep love for masks and I think I maybe have 4. So I just need to get a few more and then I can just get a group of people maybe. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that would fit with your aesthetic so well too. Okay, last call for questions or anything in the chat. Okay, I think we're gonna close off, David. Thank you so much to our first photographer. And David is gonna go grab our next youth artist who came into this class with a lot of energy and focus, and very excited for you to see her themed work. So whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hi, my name is Matilda or Matilde. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior in high school. Starting at a young age, I've documented my life from behind the lens. And as someone who moved around a lot as a kid, photos and videos are what helped me define who I was. I think my work has come a long way from pictures of my couch with a toy camera, exploring themes like identity, community, and city life. And I hope to continue using photography as a way to share my story and learn about others. The photography space is not often kind, not often kind to women, to people of color, or to anyone who doesn't have thousands of dollars to spend on equipment. But we deserve to tell our stories as much as anyone else. And in fact, I think it's crucial that we share our photos and our lives. It is a way for us to carve a space for ourselves and to show others that they can too. Yeah. So this is my artist statement. For this project, I started out wanting to capture the most important parts of my life, my family, music, and the city I live in. And as I took photos, there was a feeling of like solace and quiet that appeared in the collection. So I edited my photos to all be black and white. I think that there's a type of intimacy in using black and white photography that allows you to focus closer on the feeling rather than the colors or the editing. So I wanted to start with heritage. It is often difficult to feel like I have a place as someone who is mixed race, who carries an identity that often feels fragmented between cultures and borders and languages. But I find myself and my heritage reflected in my younger sibling, and it reminds me that I'm not alone in that feeling and that there's also so many mixed people in the world who can relate. Me and my sibling, we both have freckles, but tan skin and dark hair, which is a combination of traits that comes from both sides of our family, but it's unique to us because we're mixed. And then next, another part of my life and my family is music. The piano is where my family would play music together, and now where I play my own music. And I wanted to capture that feeling of like both past and present. So I used a long exposure to kind of evoke imagery of like longing and memory. And it reminds me that while I might not always be physically present at like the piano bench, there's always going to be a part of me and like a part of my heart that's there. And finally, city life. When I'm not with my family, I'm probably in the city. My school is in a really like urban and busy area. And I also just like to explore on my own or with my friends, like getting on the bus and just going wherever. And I took the photos with like the question in mind of how to make one of like the busiest and most vibrant neighborhoods in Seattle, which Capitol Hill, how to make it feel like you're the only person in the world and like quiet, because I think the city has like an uncanny ability to make you both feel like really a part of a community, but also alone at the same time. So I wanted to capture that in whatever sense I could. And finally, So as I took and edited and put together these photos, it helped me develop my goals for what I want to do with my photography, which is to kind of build an understanding of myself and my connection to the world and to share with others. So that's what I'm doing here. Thank you.
Yes, claps and snaps for this artist. I'm just gonna, roaring applause from the fellow students. Just gonna shout out the chat that the double portrait is really stunning. I think people are really attracted to that. And also the blur in the piano photo, someone said it definitely feels very ephemeral, dreamlike, and you totally captured the quiet and personal aspect of your community in these images. Yeah, I would agree. I love when you said cities can make you feel alone and surrounded by people. It's hard to convey Capitol Hill as quiet, but you totally did it. Success on that. A lot of claps and snaps in the chat. And yeah, just really enjoyed your perspective and how you spoke about this work. My question is, any excitement for a next project, or what's the next theme for your work, do you think?
I think with this project, what I tried to focus on was I have a little bit of experience with photography and with Photoshop already, and I wanted to put that aside and just focus on black and white and kind of simple storytelling. So I hope to kind of return to more editing and more kind of creative, like collaging, things like that in this next project, while still exploring themes of like identity and who I am in relation to the community that I'm in and the people around me.
Ooh, love that. Yeah, snaps for that. I do want to point out this artist has a total understanding of Photoshop and could manipulate this and make you think you were looking at something different. But I love that you chose to restrain your work and it presented on the simplest level. It's so impactful and powerful that way. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to check the chat one more time. Black and white photography is your voice. Yeah. Keep going. We adore your work and thank you so much. We're going to move on to the next artist. Thank you, Matilda. Okay, and I just want to point out, you may notice that each slideshow is designed differently. That's because each artist put a lot of care into the color and design. All this design is 100% original from these artists. So not only are they presenting their photo work, they're also presenting their ability to graphic design. So multi-talented artists here. Speaking of multi-talented artists, we have one coming up here. Our photographer Sullivan is going to come and he's going to tell us a little bit about the work here. Sullivan, take it away. Oh, hold on, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Oh wait, you have to unmute you.
Hi, my name is Sullivan. I'm 17 and I like making weird stuff. That's about the explanation I can give for the kind of creative work I do. For my photography, I don't really like over explaining my all the things that I do. So I just want to let the photos speak for themselves. You can flick to the next slide. This is the first set. Each slide has photos that fit like a specific theme. And the name of the project, Facilitate, is named after a poem I wrote, which is, I think it fits the theme of the different photos. You can flick to the next slide. It's like, yeah. I like working in monochrome. You can go to the next slide. And this is the, yeah, I tried to pick, I tried to organize the photos in a way that all complement one another. And I'm gonna just read the poem I wrote. Or the yeah. I have dreams of a fox in silver moonlight, dancing across clouds, a black shadow in the mist. The fox visits me in the real world sometimes. It meets me at the window of my bedroom, staring in with its piercing white eyes. I lean my head against the glass, wondering if it's worth it to let it inside. The animal with heavy cravings would like nothing more than to have someone who can feed it. Memories of blood and gore and screeching crows fill my nights, if not the fox. I prefer to see the fox, even if it begs me for food. The days when it's there, I wonder if it's dead, but it always comes back at one point or another. I hold my pillows close to my chest, and I wonder if decay is really all that horrifying. The way it eats you, it's no different from a starving animal begging for some kind of nutrition. The way it only consumes the corpses of the deceased must be like some kind of mercy. It leaves the living be and takes only the dead. The fox speaks sometimes. It speaks in phrasing that I cannot understand, its words wrapping around my throat in such a deathly way. It told me its name is facilate, like gangrenous, decaying, rotting flesh and corpses. I asked if it's death, to no response. Its piercing white eyes bore into me in such an unfamiliar way. So I did not ask again, for the answer was already clear. And the nights that I do not see the fox, I lay awake staring at the window, hoping for its return. Despite my doubts, I know it will, for it's told me how much it loves my voice and my songs and my stories, the reason I am not quite sure of and the reason I will not ask for, but my trust lies in the animal that speaks only of decay. That's the
Yes, claps and snaps for this amazing art. Thank you so much for sharing a piece of your poetry. I'm just gonna read some of the chat for you. Really amazing work, super powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. I love all the photos, very poetic in that they are all to be looked at more closely. Oh, fascinating. I really like the groupings of photos you selected for each slide. They tell a good story. These are fantastic. Love your use of line and color. And if there's any questions, would love to see that. I have a question, which is what came first, the poem or your photos, or what? Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between the two?
I guess that's to be interpreted. You can flick back through the photos if you want to like look at them again. The poem is just kind of like a little story, I guess. The speaker is not it's not autobiographical, but it's like pretty metaphorical, I guess. And you can draw your own interpretations on what it really means.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you're able to speak about death and decay in a way that doesn't feel like a downer. Like it really makes it beautiful, and it should be beautiful because it's a natural part of life. And I just wanted to thank you for reminding us of that. We have another artist set to go next, so we're just going to give another clap and snap for Sullivan, who did all this amazing design work, shared a piece of poetry with us. Very multimedia piece of work here. We have our next artist coming up. We're approaching the halfway point in our group. This artist is going to come in and show us a little bit about the work we've made this quarter, and we have Jose ready to go whenever you want to start. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jose and I'm a senior in high school. If we could go to the next slide. I use he him pronouns, and I first got into photography during the quarantine. Like many other people, I was trapped at home, didn't really have anything else to do. So I just kind of took to YouTube and was looking for a lot of hobbies. And something that really stood out to me and one of my best friends was photography. And we'd watch like a lot of like POV videos of like people shooting street photography, and we were really interested in it, and we really wanted to like be able to do it someday. So we saved a lot of money for like months and months until I was able to finally buy my own camera on like the winter of 2020. And like at first it was just fun. We would go out, take photos of anything. And then I remember for me, once it started getting more serious was in the summer, there's like the Jamal Crawford Pro-Am for basketball. And one of the coaches at my school reached out to me and asked if I wanted to go take photos. And I did, and I really loved it, and I fell in love with sports photography. And I realized that it was something that I wanted to take more seriously. For this project specifically, I chose the theme of duets. I was picking out photos for this, and I realized that a lot of the photos I had would be stronger if they had like another photo to go along with it to tell more of a story and to add a bit more personality to the photos. And that's what I decided to go with. For my photos, I really like portraying like emotions and personality in the photos. So I like I said I like sports photography. I really like capturing like faces and like people's expressions. And like I also really like portraiture, and I really like just capturing people's emotions and like happiness and stuff. For these photos, this kind of came spontaneously. I was working out one day, and then my mom actually called me, and she was like, I was walking the dog, and then I saw these people playing at the coffee shop by our house. You should come home and take photos. So I rushed home and finished my workout as quick as possible. I got home, like barely even said hi to my parents. I just grabbed my camera and just like ran to the coffee shop. And it ended up being really good. I'm really proud of these photos. The music was really nice. And like the owner of the coffee shop ended up reaching out to me, and I'm sending the photos to them. So it was like a really cool experience, and I just really like taking these photos. These photos, one day I was walking my dog around my neighborhood, and I just decided to take my camera with me to just like capture kind of like, it wasn't going to be the most interesting set, but just to like capture everyday things. There's like beauty in everyday things. And for this one, I really wanted to like highlight the personality of this dog. In the first, you can see like the guard dog, like it's a very aggressive photo. And just conveying a lot of emotion. But then in the second photo, it's like a very strong and confident photo. And I really like that you can kind of tell a story about this dog in just 2 photos. For this one, I've seen like this yellow raincoat a lot, and like I've kind of fallen in love with them because I've like taken photos of them before, and I like really like how they pop in photos, how they're so like vibrant, and they really show up. And I thought that on this same day, it was really interesting that 2 different people had the same coat on, and I really liked how these 2 photos worked together, especially with like the ducks and the grass, and like the mid-tones kind of brought these 2 photos together. And I really like how they worked in communication with each other. And then for these, I chose the word convivir, which is Spanish for, there's no really word in English that I can think of, but it means like to live together and to like share time together. And this was, I was with my friends, and we were just like in a parking garage, and we found like this really like strong green wall. And I really liked it. And I had my friends pose at this wall. We were at this wall for probably like a good hour just taking photos, and it was a lot of fun. And I really like how these photos came out, and I like how like the use of the eyes in these photos to draw your attention, and they kind of like tell you where to look as a viewer of these photos. The next slide. All right, thank you.
Claps and snaps for this artist and his duets. I'm just going to read you some shout outs in the chat. The friend portraits are fire, great framing, lighting, and narrative. I mean, that's the whole bag right there. I can see a whole series from this. I felt the same thing as soon as you started. This is me talking now, but as soon as you started, Jose, talking about the yellow coat, I need that whole series. I don't know if you need to buy the coat or just keep seeking it out. I'm gonna need that whole series from you. Just to continue reading the comments, it just sounds like these portraits are really resonating with people. The cafe, the dog, all of these moments work together and show chronology. Oh yeah, so show time passing. I like the ducklings juxtaposed with the toddlers. I didn't even read into that. Can we go back to the duckling page, Tara? Now that someone has pointed out that you kind of have a narrative around, spring and new babies being born, right? And ducklings and a baby in a baby stroller are kind of all a similar narrative. Jose is so talented and I cannot wait to see more from him. Also, we are going to take more field trips, and this skill of really reactionary. I love how you said, oh, my mom found a good image and I had to get my body there so I can capture it. I love that you had that reaction to a good tip. Is there anything else you want to share with us or any other questions in the chat for Jose? Yeah, thank you so much, Jose. Your work is incredible. Can't wait to see more. Said in the next. Okay, we're now at our halfway point in this group. Our next artist came in with so much love for this craft already, so much care and sincerity about what kind of photos were going to be made. So I absolutely can't wait to see what they have to share with us. Go ahead, take it away.
Hatso, Sapo Taliakan. Hello, my name is Zeppelin Andrew, and I don't know what to say at the start. So go to the next slide. I have my artist statement right here. Yeah. My name is Zeppelin Andrew. I'm attending Nathan Hale High School. I have been moving around. I mean, not my whole life, but like I've been moving around for a very long time. And the things that have been most consistent with my life have been music and photography. I've always like seen like frames and images of like things. And my grandma let me use a point and shoot camera when I was little. And I got to take pictures of a lot of things like flowers and stuff. When I went on walks with my grandma before she had a stroke, I got to watch her take pictures as well. And ever since I was young, my parents had played all kinds of music in our old, reliable, like blue looking van. And while driving across different states when we were moving around. And music has opened my eyes to capturing moments and connecting it back to the feeling that I got when I was listening to specific songs. I remember attending a wedding and from one of my family members, and the photographer there let me mess around with the camera. As expensive as it was, it had a really big lens, and I just loved like the feeling of just putting the camera up to my eye and just clicking the shutter, and it just feeling like I was capturing a special moment felt really good. And what I wrote here was photography is capturing, seizing the moment, all of its shape, light, coloring. The view of things have always had a hold of me to create a physical representation of our perception and interpretation of the world around us. Through photography, we can show emotion, tell stories, and capture the complexity of the world around us. Even as something as simple as your everyday life can be captured and perceived in a timeless state, which is really important to me. I recently got this book, A Bird as Black as the Sun, was my inspiration for these photos, and crows are also subsequently my favorite bird too. So watching these birds jump around and act like themselves was really fun while capturing these moments. Watching them interact with each other as I was feeding them as well was really nice. That's it for this slide. In these moments, it feels isolated, like for these people, having them nothing but themselves in a window to look out of. It feels just so serene taking the bus and looking at how people interact when they're, I guess, not by themselves, but like alone on a bus with people around them that they don't know, and having nothing but a window to look out of, like their phone, music, or whatever they have with them. Yep. Hey, wait, take a picture of this. David Reyes, the first one that presented. He had this little cat. And I don't know, the simplicity of this interaction was like a memory that I can recall very clearly. Every time I look at this photo, I can just remember the moment when I took this, which is also why I just really love photography. I get to capture moments and recall it really easily with all these moments. And I don't know, it's just something that I hold really close to me. Next slide. I don't know. Street graffiti. It's always been an interest to me, having me ask questions like why the person did this, who did it, and what was their inspiration. And that's always been a lot to me. So yeah, that's it.
We're clapping, we're snapping, we're loving. Yes, just gonna read off the chat to you, Zeppelin. Crows are great. It's great that you gave them a spotlight. I agree. Your memories will forever be locked with these images. Thanks for sharing your stories behind the images. Black and white, so poignant. Very evocative and compelling photos on these mostly empty buses. Yeah, love the choice of black and white for capturing a bird as black as the sun. Yeah, we have the united colors of all people being put in the chat. Thank you. The medicine wheel colors. Thank you. I can feel the moody darkness in your photos. Yeah. Zeppelin, is there anything else that you want to speak about? Like can you just confirm what the theme was for these that unite these photos?
When I was talking to David, because our seats are right next to each other, and I was just racking my brain thinking, what is the theme to all these photos that connects them? And as David and I were looking through the photos, he said, whenever I look at these photos, it gives me like an isolation feeling, like you're by yourself and you're just out there isolated. And so I guess isolation was my theme for these photos. It's like, because most of these photos that I've taken, I was by myself. Nobody else was around me, but people I didn't know. And the crows, I really like crows. So did I mention I really like crows? So yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Do you see yourself continuing with black and white, or now are you craving making colorful images?
No, I see myself working more with black and white. Black and white is probably my favorite thing to use when I'm taking photos. I can see myself taking color photos, but black and white, I'm definitely staying on that.
Love that. Love to hear that. There's just one more thing in the chat, a couple more things in the chat. Someone told you your auntie would be very proud. I agree. And so would your grandma. And your passion for the medium and how you connect to multiple perspectives, interests, and how you communicate through the lens is so powerful. I could not have said that better. It's so clear that you love this. And it's like, when you do something you love, it just shines through your spirit. And that is really happening here. You have a very compelling artist statement too. I would definitely agree. You were kind of explaining maybe a little bit of a struggle finding a theme here, but the theme is so clear that I think we landed on a really good spot with this. So excited to see what comes next for next quarter for you. And thank you so much. Can you send in the next artist, Zeppelin? Okay, we are approaching our last few artists. As our next artist gets comfortable, I will just invite you to remember that this design you're seeing on the page is also an original design from the artist as far as the graphics go. And we are going to have them start us off and take us away into the world of Lorna. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lorna, and I'm a sophomore from Seattle, Washington. And before this program, I have never picked up a digital camera before and was only driven by my passion to tell underrepresented stories. But as I'm learning about the camera, I'm learning to express myself through it, which challenges me and makes me feel like a vulnerable gorilla running away from poachers. But it's also refreshing to see myself and my loved ones portrayed for the first time. What inspires me to continue photography and push past my discomfort is the prospect I will inspire others. I'm grateful for the opportunity to tell my stories and bring my visions to life. In this showcase, I've compiled representations of my culture and religion that I see every day. In my photography journey, I often found myself drawn to significant colors in Vietnamese Buddhism, and these colors consist of gold, red, and green. Next slide. This is a photo that reminds me of safe passage because my mom in the car during this photo, she always told me to pray in the car because it's a dangerous place. So whenever I look at this monk, I am reminded to pray. And this monk is also a reminder to be present while driving. Next photo. These photos were taken after the car ride. And when I walked in, I immediately saw the golden shrine. And I saw how well loved it was because it had like the banana offerings and the incense that had been burnt and burned out the nubs. And then next to it is a glass lettuce sculpture that is green. And I really liked this. It was really beautiful to me. And in terms of camera technicalities, I struggled with focus and steadiness. And I really needed to capture this lettuce. So I focused the lens and kept my hand steady. Next. This is my self-portrait. In this photo, I'm wearing a traditional ao dai dress, and I took this in my brother's LED lit room. I wanted to keep the warm tone to match with my following photo. I like to smile in this portrait. Next. Next is this shrine that I see every day in my home, and it matches my prior photo, and it lights my heart up with love and joy. And there's a freshly lit incense in this photo, if you can see it, but it contributed to that feeling as well because I was smelling it, and it just smells amazing. Next. This is my final photo. At its center is a carefree deity that represents laughter and abundance. And I think he's pretty goofy. And when I edited this photo, I wanted to make the gold and yellow in the lights pop. So that is why this photo is my favorite. And all in all, appearances of my culture inspire me to find zen, joy, and laughter in every part of a journey. And this showcase challenged me to push to be seen and understand the importance of the bigger picture. Thank you.
Yes, claps and snaps. Thank you so much, Lorna. I'm so excited for you as a storyteller. I just want to share something. Lorna came in on the first day of class and was like, I'm going to make a movie someday. And I asked what the movie's going to be about. And Lorna said, I'm not sure yet, but it's going to happen. And that energy was so inspiring. Your ability to see your own path ahead of you and manifest what's needed for it. I just want that for myself and for you. So thank you so much for sharing these pieces of your beautiful culture with us. I'm going to read you some of the chat shout outs. I really like this choice of color in your slideshow template. Complements your work really well. I feel the love and joy in these images. Oh, wow. I'm going to read that again. I feel the love and the joy in these images. because I feel that too. Thank you for pushing into your vulnerability to find your photographic voice and chosen subjects. On the self-portrait and the shrine, oh, I just lost. The self-portrait and the shrine photo are both stunning together. I like, oh, we already read this one. Your images really show your storytelling skills. You'll make an incredible filmmaker. Yeah, that was the reason I mentioned that anecdote, because Lorna came in conscious that she's a storyteller. And I can't believe this is your first experience with a still camera, because it doesn't look like beginner photos at all. More celebration on your lettuce photo. Very good job. Someone says, well done, and keeping that lettuce nice and sharp. Amazing detail in the lettuce. Yeah, a lot of people like the lettuce. So that's a celebration on all the hard work. And look how well it pairs together with the other photo. Serenity in the midst of commotion. I'm curious, what photo do we think that was a reference to? Serenity in the midst of commotion.
The Buddha.
Yeah, absolutely. The praying monk in traffic. I love the idea of praying and being mindful in the car. Your mom is a very smart woman. The gold, the red, and the green are very powerful in your photos. I love the arrangement of your photos next to your artist statement. Awesome job, Lorna. This is amazing. Do you have any inspiration from film or TV right now, or just anywhere? Do you have anything inspiring you right now?
I'm very inspired by supernatural stuff. I think that'd be really cool to explore.
Ooh, the next series. I love this. Okay, write that down somewhere. That's a great idea. Thank you so much, Lorna. The pictures are beautiful. Claps and snaps. Okay. This might be. Yes. Okay, we have another artist here ready to go. Thank you so much for hanging on. I think we have just one or two more to share. And our artist here that's going to show a bit of their culture, we have Hangama. Take it away.
Guys, so for my project, I wanted to choose a theme, my culture. Can we go to the next slide? So my introduction is, hey guys, my name is Hangama. I'm 15 years old, and growing up with the unique name, I noticed that people occasionally mispronounce my name. And I don't mind it as much as some might believe, because I enjoy teaching others new things, especially if it's like related to me or my culture. And being in this program, I wanted to accomplish sharing more about my culture and demonstrate that Afghanistan is more than just like violence and more. And we have more to teach about our people and self. Although I did enter my first session with like no knowledge about cameras at all and like how they work, but I do wish in the future to take this opportunity to learn more about cameras and how I can like develop an interest in them while like expressing myself. Thanks. So the first few pictures that I wanted to show was these self-portraits of myself, and I wanted to name them Pleasant because this is a pleasant part of my culture. And as you can see, the dress I'm wearing is very colorful, and it has a whole bunch of designs on it. And typically, these type of dresses are worn on weddings or special events. And this dress that I'm wearing right now, I'm wearing it on a different event in a couple of weeks, but I've decided to wear it now. And the pillows that you see in the background, those are typically very common in Afghan homes. And you can see them a lot when guests are over. And for my house, we have them only out on display for guests. And that's it. And I titled this Unpleasant because while taking these pictures, it reminded me of the unpleasant parts of my culture or country. And the graphic designs that you see on the two bottom pictures remind me of all like the quotes and the writings that I would see typically during the streets of Afghanistan. And most of the quotes would be talking about how the struggle they have while living in Afghanistan. And the top picture that you see of the two couples walking, When I saw those two walking, it reminded me how like no matter how hard life gets, like there is still love in the air, and when two people meet with each other, they still care for each other. And I wanted to title this Woman because I don't know if you guys are aware right now, but women are having a really hard time in Afghanistan right now, especially with having natural human rights, such as driving, which is why I picked a car to be right next to the picture of the museum with the woman screaming. And the woman screaming did remind me a lot of the women back home, of how like they're just raging and they're really unhappy with what's going on, and how they don't have rights to do simple things such as going out just to get groceries and things like that. And the last picture I wanted to show you guys was this one, and I titled this Eid because while preparing to take these pictures, it reminded me a lot of how my family would prepare for Eid, because I was like hustling, trying to get everything right in order, preparing the fruits, the dried fruits, and the tea. And the flower pattern that you're seeing is called a darya. And we normally use that to express joy while we are in an event like a wedding or a party. And the jewelry that I'm wearing, those are like culturally from Afghanistan. My mom, when she went back home this summer, she brought them back with her. And you're seeing right next to me, I decided to have that zoomed in the bottom picture because it reminded me of the time when I was in the countryside and I grew up a lot there. So I just wanted to have a little resemblance of me in the culture in the countryside, and that's it. Next slide. Okay, thank you.
Yes, there's a roaring applause. Thank you so much for sharing this, Hangama. I love your first slide saying that maybe if people at first don't understand or can't pronounce parts of your culture, and you're leading with love. You're saying, I love teaching people about my culture, when it could be very easy to feel some saltiness there, but you don't have no salt in your heart. You just have love. So I'm going to read you some of the comments in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing these images and your culture. I appreciate your positive attitude. We have hand clapping emojis of all types of colors. We have the jewelry is fabulous, so well captured. The details tell the story so well. And I know that Hangama really wanted to make sure lots of photos were included so we didn't miss any of those small details. So thank you, Mark, for mentioning that. The photo that is the close-up of the necklace is framed so well. Maybe we can go back one slide just for the context. All of these are framed incredibly well, and the lighting is great, so powerful. This Women series is so powerful. Thank you for sharing your personal story and how you see aspects of Afghanistan in your Seattle surroundings. There are powerful images of strength. These are powerful images of strength. Ooh, yes, I feel the strength in all of these. Holding out the scarf instills a sense of reverence that comes through. Okay, these are so wonderful, and I love the choice to show them all on one slide. I agree. I asked Hagama about that as well. And did you want to say anything else about the way you put this together, or any other comments, Hangama?
I just wanted to mention one thing is I just want to thank my sister for helping me actually with these pictures. The ones of me taking on the bed and the one that you're seeing right now were all like helped by my sister. Like I spent around like maybe 30 minutes to an hour teaching her how to like use the camera and how to focus properly and how to get the right angles and not use like too much of the background and not too less of the background. But she still did an amazing job in my opinion. And I also I think that's it.
Thank you so much. I just have goosebumps looking at all this and thinking about your ancestors are watching this. So proud. So thank you so much for reminding us how beautiful Afghan culture is. You have a love for teaching, someone said in the chat. Wonderful spirit. Yes, your spirit is beautiful. I love how I love how much you love to teach other people, including your sister. So much love. Yeah, love and power. I just feel like when you're facing a struggle, it's easy to let hate take over, and there's just not hate in your heart or in any of these photos. So even though you're talking about the discomfort, there's no hatred, and that's so beautiful. What if you did another self-portrait series, how would it be different or similar to this? What would you do if you had to do another self-portrait assignment?
I think that I would probably take one maybe outside when it's sunny, especially somewhere green, and obviously wearing a different cultural dress. But I think that's how I would do my other self-portraits, because I didn't have the opportunity to do the same with these pictures since they were typically like taken at home because it matched the theme. But I think for my other self-portraits, I would have taken it outside in the sun.
Yes, okay, let's make that a note for next quarter. We'll get in nature and take some portraits. Do you have a favorite picture from this series, Hangama, or is it impossible to choose?
I do. The one of me holding the darya, I don't know,
On the
the
bottom or on the top?
on the top under the text Eid, the one me holding it.
Yeah, top left. And why is
Yeah.
that your favorite?
It's my favorite because it was actually like an off-guard photo of me like trying to fix it and show the right position. But when my sister took it, it came out really good, and I like how it looks, and I like how I'm like focusing on the darya rather than on the camera. And I just like how the darya looks in general. Like you can see all the small little details on it. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, that was something I didn't know about. Thank you for teaching me about the Tedia. And also, we see bananas in a shrine yet again. Do you remember Lorna's photo had bananas in the shrine?
Yeah.
So Shida and the ancestors. Now we have again cross-cultural connections with the bananas.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We're celebrating you. We adore you. And I believe we have someone after you. Yes, okay. We have our last two students here. This student is going to come in and tell a little bit about their work. Up next, we have the very talented Nobu.
Hello, my name is Nobu, and I go to Highland School District. And I pretty much started taking photos after going to state parks and just seeing various landscapes. And after taking like photos, like after a while of taking photos with my own camera, after I got it, I started paying more attention to like textures in my own photos instead of like colors and contrasts. So my artist statement is just an overview. When people take photos, the first thing they often look at or focus on are colors and contrasts, but instead I would like you to try and focus on textures instead. And this is kind of what I've held myself to when taking photos now, is paying attention more to textures in our daily lives than colors and contrasts. So this first photo you see on the left was actually underneath downtown Seattle. So this is the bottom of the glass kind of panes you see when you walk on the streets in downtown. And I kind of just thought of this because the way it's kind of made and kind of looks reminds me somewhat of things that I see when I go to California, like in the streets. So I kind of connected to that. Next page. Okay, thank you. So this is another example of just textures and I guess patterns in our environments and just wherever we are. And this was in the International District. And I like this photo a lot because the depth and the layers and all the lines that you see. But this is also kind of like BART stations and such that you see in San Francisco, which I use to travel around the Bay Area with my mom or my friends. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is also here in the train station, and I don't know why, but like I really like the style and all the patterns on there. But also the people that you see in these areas are very similar to the people that you would see in California or like everywhere really in the West Coast. So it's just I like going down there to see different people and kind of remind me of when I'm in California with my family. Then the photo on the left is very urban, very kind of modern, but like the layers, the balance, all the lines and patterns that you see are just kind of, I feel like I would undermine it if I was just walking around kind of not paying attention. But if you start looking into everything more, you see stuff like this. But also, yet again, it reminds me of just being with my family. It reminds me of summers in California, especially with all the architecture there. So I feel like I really like this one because of that. Then the photo on the right was taken downtown again. I chose this one really because the brick, which gives the old rustic and kind of a more rough feel to it, then depth from the windows. Also, it looks very old fashioned compared to more modern buildings we see, but also I feel like this is kind of what you see in ports, like old ports more than newer ports, but also you don't really see this style here. So I kind of related to the port and the kind of maritime feel of it for my grandfather and my mom's side of the family. So then this is a self-portrait I did where I wanted to try blurring your face so people have to kind of look at what it is and kind of think about how the photo is taken. But I feel personally that it adds kind of something was here because of the blurriness and how it looks like the movement. So I like this one a lot because it kind of, I feel like it shows the past more than the present. And thank you for listening to my presentation.
Claps and snaps. Thank you so much. Nobu, I'm gonna read you some stuff just from the chat. So much talent. Oh, I lost the chat. Oh, love the juxtaposition between the two building photos. Really shows your great eye for composition. I mean, talk about that. And the contrast of textures is really rich. Yeah, I feel like that's a good word for it, rich. People are shouting out that self-portrait as being fire. Beautiful work, says Mark. I can really see the focus on texture in every single one of your photos. They're so compelling to look at. And I love all the commonalities that you're drawing between Seattle and the Bay. Oh, nice. Balance and repetition photos could be framed art. Yeah, this absolutely is ready to go on someone's wall right now. You have nailed the element of composition. These photos are so strong graphically. Yeah, I agree. Love the layers in your photos. It's funny, I gave an assignment the other day to take a photo that had layers, and Nobu was like, oh, I already have every photo I've ever taken has layers. So he's naturally tapped in, like these people are saying, to composition, texture. Wow, lines and texture, clapping emoji. Amazing portrait. The Inception portrait is what they're talking about. And great use of rule of thirds. I also felt an energy come around when the Inception portrait came, not the self-portrait, but the portrait of the person in the train station. That was really interesting because I think of your work as a lot of buildings and urban textures. And then here you have this incredible human moment. So it shows that you're able to capture humanity as well as the details of man-made objects. Would you say you're a really detailed oriented person just in life, Nobu?
I guess I like paying attention to details a lot and just looking further into things. So I just thought this photo is kind of ironic in a way because I'm a photographer, so I'm not really used to being on getting my photos taken. So it's I just thought it was kind of a funny moment to have.
Oh yeah, it's very self-referential, right? Anytime someone takes a photo, you got to take a photo of them taking a photo. That's mandatory photography. I'm just gonna check the chat one more time. I just wanted to share that, I hope this is okay to share, but Nobu also is good at cooking or knows a lot about cooking. So I just was thinking about how both these talents are really technical. You need to know how to use the machine, whether it's a knife or a frying pan or a camera. And they both have a bunch of elements to kind of think about at once to kind of throw into the final salad. So I'm just drawing some, I'm seeing a pattern with you that you are so tapped into the details, and that's how we get the finesse of your final product, is you're just like so detail oriented. What if there was another project, if you had a week to do another project, would you focus on urban landscapes more, or are you ready to pivot and do something else?
I feel like personally, I really like the urban photos, but I really like trying out different styles, different types of photos. So I would say if I had a whole week to work on a series, I probably would want to maybe take a more natural standpoint and continue on the textures and patterns in the natural environment, which is, I feel, more abstract than urban. So hopefully I can do that sometime.
Yeah, that would be so different from this work too, right? You have like pictures of buildings and then a bunch of like natural stuff as well. Could see that being an interesting body of work. Okay, Nobu, thank you so much for sharing with us. Can't wait to see more. Nobu is going to be selling work. Meet Nobu after the party to buy a print. We have one last student here who has been waiting patiently as everyone else goes. Oh, sorry, two last students. That's right. We have one more who is going to join us. And our student who is going to be presenting now is not physically here with us, but has given us permission to show the work. And oh my goodness, what is happening? This work is so good. So Shida is volunteering to tell us about the work. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Tara, if you don't mind, go to the next slide. I will read on Noor's behalf. I am Noor Musawawi, born in Baghdad, Iraq. I am the middle child of the family. My family and I immigrated to Washington, US in 2015. Moving to a new country with no idea of how to speak the language with cultural and religious shock was very confusing to me. After a couple of months in America, I fell in love. I enjoy painting, hiking, baking, and reading. I'm in my sophomore year of high school. Family and friends are the two most important things to me. I'm a Leo, which I love that she added that part about herself. I love expressing myself through photography. Being a Muslim is a big part of my life. My faith keeps me going. I've always loved art. It's super important to me. All types of art are beautiful to me. In the future, I plan to get an art-related job. Here are some lovely photos from her. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get too much writing, but she was able to share some quotes. She shared this Ray Bradbury quote: "I like to watch people. Sometimes I ride the subway all day and look at them and listen to them. I just want to figure out who they are and what they want and where they're going." And Noor actually did share a little bit about these photos. She shared, "When I was anxious or sad as a kid, I would always search up city at night on Google Images. I would scroll through the pictures for hours and fantasize about moving to a place like that one day. I love looking through people's windows. Although it may sound very weird and creepy, I can promise you I only mean it with the best intentions. When looking through a person's window, I like watching them dance to their favorite music, cooking their favorite meal, or watching the movie they always cry to. Seeing how people live their lives and how we humans are so similar yet so different from each other is so amusing to me." And on this, And then on the slide it shares, "Some strangers look sad and some look happy. Some look glad and others not so many. But this is what makes everyone special and different. This is what makes everyone unique." And these photos with the quote, "I love going to places where I can sit and people watch, take in the colors of their clothes, the wrinkles they have around their eyes when they smile, their body language when meeting one another, and sometimes I even eavesdropped on their conversations." Wink. And that is all the pictures from Noor. We're sad she can't be here with us, but I know she'll be very excited to be able to present next round.
Yay, thank you so much, Shida.
Yes, and we will share all these comments that y'all have left. So I'll make sure to take a picture of them and send it to her later on. Thank y'all.
And while we wait for the next artist to come in, I did just want to share that Noor's images and technique of kind of peering through windows really sparked an interesting dialogue with the class, where we discussed the ethics of looking through windows, the legality of whether that's allowed or not, which it is. So make sure you know that next time you're in your own window. Yeah, and Noor made sure to only show images of windows that either had no people or people with consent. So I just wanted to add that there was a lot of ethical consideration as well to the work. Okay, do we have our next artist? Stand by. This will be our last artist. Okay. Thank you so much for sticking around, those of you who are here and ready to enjoy our last artist slideshow, again, who designed their own slideshow or pitch deck, if you want to call it that. Go ahead and start us off, Ethan.
Okay. Not exactly sure how I'm supposed to follow up everyone else's presentation. But I guess I can start with an introduction. So hi, my name is Ethan, and I'm a 15-year-old Korean American. My hobbies are cooking, playing video games, and I probably shouldn't start with something like I would say when I meet someone. How about this? Maybe I'm Ethan, and I'm a high school student who likes talking to my friends. Or maybe that sounds better, but actually no. Maybe I could say something more serious, like, hi, I'm Ethan, and my dream is to become a future entrepreneur, and photography can help me do that by helping me market or advertise. Or maybe I could talk more about like photography instead. And for my intro, and to say something like, I really wanted to do photography since I think photos are kind of like flashbacks to the time that they were taking. And well, all those are true, but I don't really think any of them feel quite right for an introduction like this. So maybe I'll figure out something later. Well, either way, nice to meet you. And I might send my slides. So my artist statement is, I guess, okay, my theme is for the showcase is variety. I chose this theme since I really wanted to highlight how I made sure to take the time to take a lot of photos with no intended connection whatsoever. But the more I thought about it, I really started to like the theme of variety, since I think a lot of the fun in life comes from the interesting things they could do in it, and there's a bunch of options of what you can do. I also think it's like a good starting theme, since I've never really done photography outside of this class. And so it gives me a lot of freedom to take a bunch of photos and figure out what ones I like. And the photos that I picked here today are the ones that I like the most, and I hope you like them too. Start off with credit to Ryan Bonsack and Nicholas Robertson for the photos titles. And move into the first photo. So this is a photo I took with the moon using long exposure. They named all of the photos after Destiny weapons, by the way, if anyone knows what Destiny is. And so the first photo's name is Polaris Lance. That's all I really have to say for the first one. For the second one, it's named Whisper, and I thought it was kind of cool. This was a long exposure shot that Nobu, who should be in the other room over there, kind of taught me. Also the tripod that I was using, it was really scuffed since it couldn't move up or down. And so I had to angle it, and it took a lot of photos. Moving on to my next photo. This is the photo I'm going to be using for my self-portrait. I really wanted to capture something with a lot of movement, and I thought this was kind of a fun idea. And that's everything for this one. Moving on to the next photo. It's called the Lammet, and I took this photo when Nobu and I were at the international district before coming to Youth in Focus one day, and I thought this photo looked really cool, and I edited it so that the pathway is black and white, since I thought it, like the kind of the shadows that the trees cast looked kind of cool, and wanted to highlight the background a little bit more. This is a photo from the same day actually, and I took over the train track, and one of my friends recommended me to try it out in black and white, and I really liked it. Also gives me a black and white photo as well. And then finally moving on to the final photo. This is a photo I took of the street light, and I just kind of liked how it looked. Well, thank you very much for listening. And I hope you all have a great day. Also, sorry for having this be a little long. I think we're supposed to end at 7, and it's currently 7:20. And yeah, I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you so much. Just before we leave, I want to read you your comments, Ethan. There are people in the chat saying, thank you so much. Love the variety of all your photos, but you've also got some consistency. You could play around with lines. Like, yeah, all your photos have strong lines in them. I love the juxtaposition of stillness between whisper and the movement of no time to explain. Yeah, it's like your photos either are super still or they're just have all this chaotic movement. And I love that those are the kind of the two sides of life, right? Love the crisp background and blurred movement. Oh, another self-portrait love. A lot of self-portrait love. Love the lighting of composition and long exposure is really impressive. Yeah, Ethan has a really technical mind. And I wonder, Ethan, is there any techniques in photography you look forward to exploring more of? Like something similar to long exposure or anything you've heard of? Oh, wait, you're muted.
Like, to be honest, after hearing everyone else's like reasons why they decided to pick up photography, I feel like mine is really lame, since I mainly wanted to do it since I thought photos looked cool. And so I guess like if I find a technique that I think can create cool photos, then I'll just try out using that. And then once I learn that, I'll probably use it occasionally and continue using other techniques that I learned, or maybe even learn a new one.
Yeah, like it sounds like sometimes the technique might dictate what the photo is instead of the other way around. Like maybe just trying new techniques is the way to discover a style. Okay, just want to thank everyone for sticking with us. And like Ethan said, we went a little bit over, so an extra thank you for staying. This is recorded, so we'll share out on our media, social medias and all that. And you can share with your families. Thank you again to Shida, Tara, Sam, and all the students and participants. I'm going to close us out for the evening to respect everyone's time, but feel free to tap back in a community way. Claps and snaps for the artists and me as well, because I got shouted out in the chat. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.